In the last movie, we straightened this image, but in the process, we left these gaps around the corners of the image. Now, you could of course crop these areas out, but if you need to fill them in to maintain the current crop, then here's how to do it. Now let's start with these bottom sections. We'll need to make a selection for these wedge shapes, and the polygonal lasso tool works great for this. The polygonal lasso is located here underneath the main lasso tool. You use it by clicking to set your initial point, then drag to click your second point, and you want to make a generous selection here to completely select the wedge shape into the existing area of the image. We'll drag up here, click to set another point, and then drag down near the starting point until your cursor gets a closed selection circle next to it. Then click to close that selection. Now we'll fill this in by going up to the Edit menu and selecting the Fill command or pressing Shift F5 on your keyboard. You'll need to change the contents for the fill to Content Aware Fill. Then leave Color Adaptation checked, Blending Normal, and Opacity set to 100%. Then click OK. Photoshop then fills in the missing pixels for you. Okay, let's work on this next wedge here. We'll click to set our first point. We'll come down, click, move up, click, and come back down. Now, if you're not able to close the selection in one click, just come on down and then move down around again and click to close it. Now we'll once again go back up to the Edit menu to Fill and click OK. And that fills in those pixels. Now we'll deal with this top wedge. We'll once again make a selection. Click there, click here, close our selection. This time I'll just press Shift F5 to call up my Fill command and then click OK. And fills in those areas. Now we'll do this last wedge here. So we'll click, we'll come down here to the top, click, click over there, click down here, and come up and close our selection. Once again, Shift F5, and then just hit Enter or Return to accept that fill. Then we'll deselect with Command or Control D. Now it looks like Photoshop did a great job on these first three areas that we needed to fill in. Those look really good, but the problem is up here in the rigging. Now let's clean that up by using the Clone Stamp tool over here in our toolbar. And let's zoom into this area with Command or Control plus. And then spacebar drag up to the area. Let's set up our brush by right or control clicking. For this, I like to use a soft brush so we can blend the image together. So drag your hardness down to 0 if it's not there. And then these lines are fairly thin, so let's try a brush size of about 15. And to use the Clone Stamp brush, you first have to set a starting point for where you want to paint from. I'll come down into this area of the sky and then hold down Option or Alt on your keyboard until your cursor turns into the crosshairs, and then click. That'll set your initial point for where you're going to paint from. Now simply move up to the area that you want to paint into and paint over that object. We'll come over and get rid of these other lines. Once again, move into another area, hold down Option or Alt and click to set your starting point, and then just paint those lines right out. Now to get these lines, I'll select another area. So once again, hold down Option or Alt, click, come up to this area here, and just paint them right out. Now that looks pretty good. Now to paint these lines back in, we'll need to make a selection of the line itself. So move your cursor directly over top of the line, then hold down Option or Alt and click. Then when you move up over the end of the line, notice that you're getting a little preview of the line inside of your cursor. You can then carefully paint that line right back in. We'll do that again down here in this area. Option click, and then start painting that line in. I'll come down and make a selection down in this area, and then start to carefully paint this line in. And then I'll reselect again and continue painting. And just keep repeating that process until you get that line fully in place. Now that we have some of this line here, we can select from here and continue painting up. There we go. That's looking pretty good, but this jib halyard here is going to be a bit more challenging, so we'll deal with that in the next movie.